Welcome into 11 Personnel presented by Monticello Bank. I'm Nick Roush. He's Adam Luckett, and the Cats are getting ready to go down to Georgia where the devil had a soul to steal. And here's the thing. I feel like I know the words if the song's playing Luckett, but just going off the cuff of that, that's tough. That's tough.
Tricky karaoke song.
Yeah, but you Fire old boys run.
I used to know most of it. That was
Guitar Hero days?
heavy drinking days back then. God, I can't even think how it goes top of my head now. But
He was looking
maybe we'll
for
hear
his
it a
soul
time
to
or two this
steal.
weekend.
He was fine. Yeah.
Willing to make a deal.
Yeah, there we go. Tell you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best it's ever been. There we go. I know all
Band
the
of
cuss
Demons,
words on.
strung
There
of
we
a
go.
band sounds something like this. Dun, 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 dun.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to practice sing for you all night tonight here on 11 Personnel. Actually, we are going to chat with Deone Walker. We're going to break down Kentucky versus Georgia, best we know to this point in the season, as Kentucky looks for just its fourth ever win over a number one ranked team in college football. And to snap Georgia's 32-game regular season winning streak, they've won 22 straight games, haven't lost a night game in Athens since the Cats turned them over 4 times back in 2009, and Randall Cobb got the dub. So there's a lot on the line this Saturday. But before we get to it all, we got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Monticello Bank, the best in the business. They've been in business for 128 years, almost as long as Georgia's win streak. And they will take care of you. 28 branches, 13 different counties. Monticello Bank, they put people first. It's where people matter. Visit them online, nbcbank.com. Or if you're going with the Cats down to Georgia and you need to do a little mobile banking, the Go NBC mobile app is there. They got you covered. Whether you're getting a car loan, home loan, whatever it might be, just a little personal banking, they got you covered. Monticello Bank, where people matter. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Check them out today. Equal Housing Lender. Like it, is it, before we get into, because we got a couple of other things we want to touch on, I did want to say, doesn't it feel kind of, this Georgia game feels a little bit different than normal in that even though they might be the most vulnerable they've been, there isn't, I don't feel the fear from Georgia fans, and I don't feel the buzz from Kentucky fans. Am I off base here?
I I do think there was maybe more Gen Pop buzz for the 2021 game, just general population.
Mm-hmm.
I do get the sense that Kentucky fans, specifically diehard Kentucky fans, probably the people that listen to our show,
The nerds, yeah.
they're like really, I think they really think that Kentucky has more than a puncher's chance here. And I think that too, for a lot of reasons we're going to get into. But yeah, I do think this is not there wasn't the lead up to this game 2 years ago, but a lot of that lead up had to do with Georgia's team, I think 2 years ago, Nick.
Yeah.
Like they hadn't won a national title yet.
Mm-hmm.
They were just kicking everybody's ass that year.
Yep.
The defense was just ridiculously talented, and you had the backup quarterback stuff at that time. So you knew like Georgia had this great defense, but the whole question was, can they win? Can they keep winning with Stetson Bennett?
Is
right?
Stetson Bennett good?
Right. That was the whole storyline
yeah.
about this game. And then it was College game day. It was in Athens for the game. It was the biggest game that Saturday. And it's not this time around. So that has changed, I think, from a certain aspect. But I think a lot of it has to do with just Georgia has – there's more like Georgia fatigue, I would say, where back then they were still like, can they break through, right? Can he finally get over the hump? Can Kirby Smart finally get this program over the hump?
Are we still going to get Mike Griffith dogging the Cats on Paul when we're driving down to Athens?
I'm sure on our drive, biannual tradition when we go to Athens, we'll hear Dog Nation Mike Griffith make some old jokes about Saban and probably have some jokes about Brian Kelly cooked up. Definitely some jokes about Billy Napier.
Isn't he like he's kind of like Blank, right? The Blankenspanker. Or just, he just comes in and says some wild stuff. But I think he's a little more polished than Blank, though. Because at least, like, at least his stuff, it's like it feels like there's some knowledge, like there is some actual brain horsepower behind it.
You calling Louisville the media guy that doesn't have a brain
I
horsepower?
mean, he just says some stuff that it's like, dude, are you even watching the sport? Like, he was comparing NC. He said NC State is just as difficult environment as Sanford Stadium, which I was just like, oh, twice the people.
Interesting.
Georgia.
That's
Yeah. That was a take.
I will say that's the. I've been to LSU and I've been to Alabama. LSU is crazy, but Sanford Stadium, like it's underrated game day.
Oh yeah.
Like that place gets after it, and they have the coolest kind of like setup and like the video and how they kind of set everything up, and the stadium's just cool because how it's built into the ground, essentially how you enter. That place gets rocking and it gets really loud. The students are on top of you.
Yeah.
The place it jumps.
And when we say
it'll
wow,
jump on Saturday night.
It's you can't hear the person next to you. You try to talk to them, and it's deafening. So it's certainly going to be a hornet's nest there. Georgia fans, they're kind of waiting for a breakthrough, particularly offensively. They still haven't covered the spread this year, but they're still at the top of the SEC East. I want to say this is Mark Story had a fun stat. This will be the third or fourth time that the winner will once again claim the top spot in the SEC East. But let's dive into that briefly, Luckett, because things are feeling kind of weird in that I think you talked me into predicting Missouri as a trap game at the start of the season, but oddly enough, they're kind of the most consistent team right now, maybe, perhaps. Tennessee lost Brew McCoy for the year. South Carolina's just been very underwhelming aside from like a fun first half at Georgia. This SEC East is it's a big old mess right now.
Yeah, I think for Missouri, you can make the argument they made the best coordinator hire of the offseason in the conference to this point. I mean, they've turned Kirby Morris turned Brady Cook into like a top flight quarterback in college football. I mean, they're throwing the ball over the yard. Luther Burden's putting together an All-American season. That's going to be a challenge for Kentucky next week. Now they have to play LSU, and they have flaws too, but they're playing some good football right now. The Kansas State game, Nick, could have gone either way. Memphis was in that game against them. Vanderbilt, that was close in the fourth quarter, like 2-score close.
Right.
So it took them a while to put them away. They defensively, I think they might have some issues that were unexpected this year, but their offense is really throwing the football a ton and throwing the crap out of it. And so
you got to give them credit too, just for putting away those teams too, because as we saw Kentucky last year, that hasn't always been
right. Like this is a team that they not snuck by, but they beat Middle Tennessee by 4. They probably should have won by more than that, but Middle Tennessee is 1-4.
Yeah, and
they're playing Jacksonville State tonight. If they lose, they could be a 1-5 football team. If Rich Rod's crew takes care of them in Murfreesboro tonight. So like they've had some moments where they've kind of figured it out, I think. And that's one of the more intriguing games of the weekend is them playing LSU. And then you look at the rest of the league, Florida's got a loss right now. They still got to play Georgia. They still got to go to LSU. You look at, Tennessee still got to go to Alabama. They still have to go to Kentucky. We've talked about South Carolina, Vanderbilt. I think this is a really great opportunity here for Kentucky, Nick. Like if you could go down and win in Athens, big if here, but you go down and win, you're in the driver's seat. You control your own You control your destiny with 5 SEC games left to play.
Well,
and,
I mean,
you just
win the next 2. I mean, just win. Just win the next 2, but 7-0 going into the bye week.
The low key thing
there.
The low key thing, the low key part of the schedule this year. Kentucky may play the 3 worst teams in the SEC all on the road.
Yeah. Mississippi State, South
Carolina, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And you play the Mississippi State and Carolina in November. Who knows what they look like? Could be just totally out of it.
Right.
So then those games all of a sudden become a lot more winnable. If you take care of business there, then you got your big home games in the league play. You got 3 of them. Like if you beat Georgia and you take care of those road games, then you just have to win 2 or 3 at home. And you're going to Atlanta.
That's all you have to do. Just beat
Georgia. That's not like that. This is what's at stake this weekend. Like it's it's not a slam dunk you get to Atlanta, but all of a sudden you have a lane. Now you just got to dribble down and make the layup. And so we'll see how it breaks down this weekend. But I think Kentucky, this is their best chance to win this game and since 2016, Nick.
Well,
just full stop.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about going to Atlanta, where we're going to buy our tickets on Gametime. Gametime app, gametime.co. $20 off your promo code. Had a friend text me today. Say, hey, what's that promo code? Because there's big games happening all across the country right now. It's hard to come by those Louisville Notre Dame tickets. My sisters are coming in town. They want to watch the Cards versus the Fighting Irish. Well, they can just hop on Gametime. $20 off your first purchase with the promo code KSR. Just click on settings, promotions, boom, KSR, $20 off your first purchase. And the thing I really like about the Gametime app, Luckett, because I have some friends who are just like, I don't know if I'm going to go to that game or not. Like, it's a tough ticket. It might be expensive. I was like, listen, you got my promo code. And two, you can pay with Venmo. Venmo money is not even real money, Luckett. Like, it's just, it's like Monopoly money. It's the modern day Roush changing your couch. Yeah, like that's money I forget that I have. I probably got $80 that I can shill out real quick for a ticket to go watch either. If you're in town and you want to go to the party deck, you can do that. If you want to wake up feeling froggy, go to Georgia, bada boom, bada bam, or save up for that SEC championship game after the Cats beat Georgia. Gametime, it's the best place for last-minute ticket purchases to all your favorite concerts, sporting events, and much, much more. Just download the Gametime app. Very easy. I mean, the Venmo tickets, come on. I mean, what are you using that money for? Use it to do something fun. Change your life. Change the game with the Gametime app. Gametime app, promo code KSR, gametime.co. Luckett, I love that you're tooting this horn, because you're tooting the horn of, like, you're watching the X's and O's. I am the guy who looked up every single AP number one game over the last 20, actually it was like 30 years, and was like, these number one teams, they ain't losing.
Why are they ranked number one, though, Nick?
Well, that's true. But in here, so I'm going to lay out the stats and then talk myself out of it, but then I'll let you talk me back in, because number one teams at home are 207 since 1992, 97% winning percentage. A number one team has not lost a regular season game at home in the college football playoff era. The 4 times they lost, one was to Jimbo at A&M. The other time, Trevor Lawrence had COVID at Notre Dame, and they lost in double overtime. That barely even counts. Alabama also lost in 17 in the Iron Bowl. I think it was Iron Bowl, wasn't it? Either way, I think the 2 times Alabama lost, they still won the college football playoff. So, like, point being, number one teams are number one for a reason. However, the one thing I noticed, too, when you looked at some of those, sometimes the number one teams would flip early in the season, and it's because preseason notions wouldn't be reinforced by their play on the field. And that's because you get some other team playing better. Like, Lane Kiffin was preseason number one at USC one year, right? The year that LSU in 07, they weren't number one to start the year. They took over about 4 games in because they looked more impressive, and the preseason number one was struggling. I think it might have been Ohio State. Georgia's having that kind of play, but nobody else has been really good enough to take that mantle from them, because Michigan's the only really argument you have against them, and they ain't played nobody, Paul. So that's where I could be talked into this, Luckett, because Georgia has shown that they aren't the same Georgia team, but the pollsters, the voters in the AP, they aren't going to move them down when they haven't lost yet, and they're the 2-time defending national champs. Like, you just can't. Nobody's gone up and taken it from them yet. So now's Kentucky's opportunity.
Simply put, going and trying to beat the number one team on the road is just hard.
Yeah,
it's just a really hard thing to do. It doesn't happen
on the road,
very
man.
often.
Yeah.
So that's number one that gets you uneasy about going to do this. But I think you got to look at the ATS number here, and it kind of shows you that Georgia is not the same Georgia we've seen. Nick, if you take out the COVID year, this is the first time Georgia hasn't been at least a 3-possession favorite since 2019.
Yep, No.
Their two national title teams were big home favorites over everybody they played in Sanford Stadium. It's not the case here. In 2019, they were twice a 2-touchdown favorite. They didn't cover any of the games. They won by a combined 12 points over Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So they were fourth quarter games that were decided late. So this is what we're getting into here. I think you look at Georgia; they're a really good football team. And they've got really good players. And Brock Bowers is a total freak. But this team has some flaws, and we've seen those to this point in the year.
Lay those flaws out, and I'll be the bad guy. I'm happy to be the bad guy, and then just remind you that Brock Bowers plays for them, because it is crazy that Georgia just always has one guy that is seemingly their Superman.
Yeah.
But the difference is that it's a lot harder to get the Superman the ball. It's not like you just hand it off to Nick Chubb or DeAndre Swift. So proceed with the kinks in the armor.
Yeah, just the banged up offensive line. So
No Mary Smims.
No Mary Smims, who was going to be their next top 10 pick at tackle. Banged up running back room. And so that has inhibited what has typically been, Nick, one of the more efficient running attacks in college football. It's still efficient, but it's not like it usually is. Go ahead.
I had a conversation with Palmer Tomes, who does our stuff for Dogs HQ, and she'll be able to watch tomorrow. And I asked him their injury situation, and it took like 5 minutes for him to go through it all, particularly at running back.
Football team.
The one guy, Edwards, is basically their only fully healthy. Kendall Milton played last week, but he's not.
They have a receiver playing running back right now. That's where they're at.
It ain't
Dylan Bell
Chubb
plays
and
receiver.
Gurley.
He will get carries on Saturday. Yeah, this for Georgia standards. This is as weak as they've been at running back in a long time for Georgia standards.
Yes,
Dajan Edwards is a really good player. We're going to talk about him here when it comes SGP time, single game parlay time. But he's a good player, and he's been efficient this year. But he just came back, Nick. I mean, he was banged up. So that running the football has been an issue for them, and that's forcing them to get a little pass heavy. Carson Beck has thrown over 30 times, or averaging over 30 passes a game. And that's not something you would expect from a first-time starter for Kirby Smart.
And from a Mike Bobo offense, too.
Yeah, so that's a little surprising. So they're not running the ball super efficient. Their pass rush, Nick, 2 years ago when Kentucky went down here, they were just – it was like one of the greatest pass rushes we've ever seen, not just because of the edge guys, because of the linebackers, the inside guys. They just got pressure from everywhere.
Yeah.
This team, it only has like a 30-something% pressure rate. I think they have 4 sacks through 5 games. Low sack numbers. They are not like getting after the passer like they usually do. In Georgia, like in this game, Kentucky's not going in here and running for 220 yards. But you can't have success running the football against them. Now, Auburn did a lot of it with zone read QB, but they are ranked 9th, I think, in yards per rush in the SEC. They've been number 1 in the SEC, just yards per rush, every year since 2019. So you're talking about a long time, and they are not going to be that this year. So you add that in. They're not stopping the run super well. They're not getting after the passer super well, and they want to be a run-heavy offense who is still good at running the football, but they are just – it's not like we're just roll the ball out, we're running for 230 yards today. Like, that's not this operation.
They aren't being who they want to be is essentially what you're saying, because –
not at the peak, not at the levels they're used to operating at.
Yeah.
They are down a little bit.
Because they have the cover guys. Like, the secondary is still producing.
Secondary's awesome, yes.
Tyke Wilson, I believe is his name.
Tyke Smith.
Tyke
but Malachi Starks is the best player on the defense. Number 24, the safety, sophomore, was a 5-star.
Yeah.
Like, he's an absolute stud. They got some young corners that are still growing, but that are good. But they're going to, we hear Kirby Smart say physical. They're going to test your manhood. Like, Kentucky or Georgia's secondary is going to test Kentucky's receivers' manhood on Saturday. They're going to come up, they're going to bump them, they're going to press, they're going to get in their face, and they're going to make them beat them in one-on-ones. And so it's a big challenge with that, because you're going to have to pass the football to win this game. And that's the ultimate question, I think, for Kentucky coming into Saturday.
Yeah. As of today, it looks the way we're feeling. Mark Stoops, he's not a big injury report guy, but you were at practice yesterday. Barryon Brown was not dressed. Tavion Robinson was nowhere to be found. I think the easiest way to read it is that if you don't see Robinson out there, it's looking unlikely. But at least Barryon was out there involved.
Yeah.
I see, feels like more of a precautionary, like you need to still be around and involved sort of deal.
Luckett's logic says Barry and Brown is playing on Saturday. Luckett's logic says Tavian Robinson is probably going to be close to a game time decision. And I think that's just where we're at on the injury report with Kentucky.
Kenneth Horsey.
Kenneth Horsey is probably back. So you're probably getting him back. So O-line as a key piece.
But the receivers, top 2 guys, could be out. And then your other guy, your number 3, has acted like number 12. I mean, he's just – there's something going on in his head right now where, like, he could be the best player on the field for Kentucky on Saturday if we see the best version of Dane Key. But we haven't. I mean, he's the player that they need to step up, to make tough physical catches. And I'll throw out another one. This is a game built for Isaiah Cummings, man. Those linebackers cannot cover these Kentucky tight ends. They're not ready for that if they could take advantage of those mismatches and use your hands. I mean, we haven't seen it from Isaiah in a game like situation in 2 years. So Kentucky has the potential there, but like, are they going to do it? Can they do it? And that's ultimately what a lot of this comes down to me, Luckett, is it's all the pieces are in play to potentially make the big plays, but you gotta prove me wrong because we haven't seen it on a regular basis, particularly from the pass catchers and also from the quarterback.
Yeah, my thing here, Nick, Kentucky can win this game, and I see some people in the chat saying maybe I think Kentucky's a better team. I don't think Kentucky's a better team. Georgia's the better team in this matchup, but Kentucky can win this game if the receivers play well. If the receivers go out and make plays and make competitive catches and win one-on-ones and catch the ball when their quarterback throws to it. But there's been nothing to this point in the season, Nick, that makes me think that that's going to happen on Saturday. I mean, you're basing it just solely off of potential. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I think this is a week. You just look at Devin Leary's numbers here, Nick. Kentucky's receivers have 11% drop percentage. Most of that, Barry and Brown and Dane Key.
Yep.
And then he's got over 14% of his passes have ended, or 14% right on the number, have been pass breakups or interceptions. 5 interceptions, 15 pass breakups. I would say 7 or 8 of those pass breakups are just batted balls at the line.
Yep.
So you add the 11% drop rate, you add the 14% PBU INT rate, 25% of the passing plays are hitting somebody's hand, and they're either being dropped by Kentucky receivers or they're being caught or PBUs by the defenders. Like, that's a core one out of every 4 passes. You just take it, throw it in the trash. I mean, that's how the passing game's operating right now. And that's just not sustainable for what Kentucky wants to be. They're throwing over 30 times a game. It's not like, what would be worse if they were throwing less, but it's just it's a tough way to live. And until that changes, you're not gonna beat a team of the caliber of Georgia. Kentucky is good enough to go on this into that stadium and go win. They've got the coaches, they got the talent, they got the quarterback that can do it, they got the defense, they got the whole all of it that they need. But where you have to win this game, and it's been proven over time, to beat a Kirby Smart, Nick Saban defense, you're just going to have to throw the football. Your quarterback got to make big boy throws, and your receivers got to make one-on-one catches. They got to win in isolation and make explosive plays. How do you trust the Kentucky receivers to do that? That's why it's hard for me to envision Kentucky going and actually winning this game. I think they can keep it close. I think they can hang around for a long time, but to win it, that's what's got to happen, and I don't know if that can happen.
Yeah, and I will say there is I have a little bit more optimism than normal that Kentucky can produce some explosive plays on the ground, whereas in the past your running game was much more methodical. Ray Davis, he's got 8 plays at 30 yards or more. Like, he can help produce some
he's gonna pop
too.
One, yeah.
And the thing that I think is most important is you can't be one-dimensional, or else they will feast. And I think that's what's most important in this game. In addition to the receivers playing well, them playing well gives Ray Davis a chance to produce some big plays. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Luckett. I see some potential there, but doing it is a whole different story. But what you need to do right now, if you've got a teacher in your life, you need to go to Eckrich.com. All right? Eckrich, they are presenting the $1 million challenge for teachers. The teacher in your life could win $1 million, but they can't do it if you don't go to Eckrich.com under their promos to nominate your teacher right now. You've got until October 26th to nominate your teacher. They're going to randomly select somebody to go to the Alabama game, throw a football for $1 million in donations to fund local classroom projects and resources in their school and community. Which school couldn't use $1 million? They all could take it, right? That's a lot of iPads for kids. That's a lot of school supplies. So do it today. Sign them up. Even if the teacher in your life can't hit the hoop, throw the ball in the hole. Extra yard for teachers. They're going to hook them up with our friends at Eckrich. Eckrich. If you don't even know a teacher, just go buy some Eckrich sausage. It's great stuff. Just like Athens, great place to go watch a football game. If you've never been before, we'll be out and about. We'll be amongst them Friday night. Very excited to go up and down Clayton Street. Peak has never been before. He's going to get his first taste. Last time we took a first-timer there, Luckett, we had somebody choke somebody. It was a whole ordeal. The time before that, it was also a first time I was there, and a friend got thrown out of the bar. We all got a round of drinks paid for us. They're like, yeah, that guy was a real jerk. So we took the round of drinks. Then a couple of minutes later, we said, yeah, can we have his credit card? He was with us. So Clayton Street.
Gas station nachos may have been in there at some point.
Oh, great place to make memories. If you like hard-boiled, boiled peanuts?
Boiled peanuts, yeah.
Which, I don't.
If you like Bulldog statues, this is the town for you. I mean, there's no better town.
They've got some Buc-ee's on the way down.
That's right.
It's just it's a great place. It's a great environment to watch a football game. I think our plan is to potentially be out at All Good on Friday night. If you're looking for late night eats, that might be tough after a 7 o'clock kick. What was the place that we watched the Braves game from? Can you remember that? That it was
wasn't it Mellow Mushroom?
No, we did Mellow Mushroom one time.
Blind Pig.
Blind Pig, yeah. That place rocks. Yeah, if you
they had one of those in Oxford too. Blind Pig's fun place.
That place is a nice let's eat, grab some grub. I guess the Braves are gonna be playing some playoff baseball.
We got two Friday night games, two college football games: Oklahoma State, K-State, and Illinois, Nebraska. So.
Well, tonight is the start of 50 straight days of football.
Yes.
And it actually ends the day before Thanksgiving. So we get one night off before Thanksgiving. Feast week will at least be in full effect, so we'll get some college basketball then. But 50 straight nights. They're starting the action earlier. I like it. Western's becoming a Thursday night only team. They're playing tomorrow night.
Yeah, see what's happening in CUSA for October, they're just doing MACtion. They're doing the MAC blueprint, but in October. So we're getting USA games all month.
It's great.
Weekdays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And tonight started it with Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee. I couldn't remember if there was another game tonight, but I know
there is another one. But CBSN and ESPNU, I think, for a lot of them, because the Thursday night NFL game is. I mean, does anybody?
Corral Michaels,
Chicago Bears, that's tough. Watching them play football is tough. At least you're not a Bears fan, Luckett. At least you're not a Bears fan.
I don't. Let's talk about something else. We don't have to talk about NFL right now.
Hey, I cheer for the Steelers, and I mean, Iowa football and them share a uniform for a reason. I mean, it's just punt city. Which I was listening to the Iowa. Or is it Hawkeye Report? Is our Iowa site?
Yes.
He was on with Staples last night.
Yes, I caught a little bit of that too.
I was very amused by it, especially because he was definitely a traditional newspaper / message board journalist, and he's not used to he doesn't have the delivery of a YouTuber. But man, some of his quips were great because now Iowa has a fat quarterback, and it's hilarious. Bacon Hill.
I think Deacon. Are they calling him Bacon?
They're calling him Bacon, because he's 260.
Hell yeah! I saw where they were talking about playing Cooper DeJean both ways, and I mean, why wouldn't you? He's your best player.
I mean, he's
but
basically
Nick,
already doing that with special teams.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
how big is this Kentucky game just in the Kentucky sphere? Like, this is one of the biggest games of our lifetime.
So part of
Right?
me, okay, when
I mean, this is for first place in the East. Like,
yeah, but here, the reason why it's not though, like it is the timing of it because
yeah,
playing it, playing it in week 6 doesn't feel as consequential because Kentucky upset number 1 LSU in week 6 back in 2007, and then they lost the next 2 weeks later to Mississippi State.
You own the tiebreaker, and you'll have 3 games under your belt.
No, you're correct, but it doesn't feel as monumental because it isn't right there right now. It's on the road, so you don't have the whole like state buzzing because they're going to the game on Saturday. But from a purely stakes standpoint, like what a win would mean for Kentucky, we talk a lot about that Florida game and ending that streak and kind of lifting. They had to do that so they could fly, right? Like you got to walk before you can run, that sort of thing. Mark Stoops couldn't knock down doors until he knocked down the Florida one. That was the biggest one. Going to a bowl game is one thing. Doing the Florida game was another. This is the final boss. And they've been to this level before. And I think the only reason why some folks maybe aren't getting up as much is because, I mean, frankly, it is a little, I don't want to say demoralizing, but like getting up for, like, convincing yourself that you're going to beat Georgia again, it's really tough. I mean, it hadn't been since 2009, right? Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah, but there was only, like, I guess, but like, I don't know. I guess I entered 2021 with a different mindset just because I knew how good that Georgia team was. In 2018, like we were, like that was obviously later in the season.
Yeah,
but Kentucky, its offense had scored 4 touchdowns in 3 games, entering that 3 SEC games, entering that. Like,
well, and
they were only winning that if they could have got like 3 turnovers.
See, and that's the other dirty little secret here, Luckett, is I was I forgot who it was. I was talking to one of the coaches at a camp, and they were like, "Remember watching Wandale against Georgia? It's like we need to have a team full of Wandales." They went and recruited him, but they haven't played like it, and that really is the biggest thing I think holding everybody back is knowing that you have to be able to make explosive plays in the passing game to beat Georgia because Kentucky's had a methodical offense. They've had long drives against them that have moved the ball. They've moved the ball as well as anybody against them, but they've never had explosive playmakers really deliver those punches. You went out and you got them, and they haven't done it yet this year. You were supposed to use that 4-game runway to feel confident in this passing attack by now, and we just haven't seen it yet. Now, to put the shoe on the other foot, here's me being, I've been pessimistic this whole night, Luckett. Here's me being optimistic. LSU game back in 2007, that was week 6. What happened in week 6 in 2021? That was Will Levis's best game at Kentucky. Probably, I mean, within both years, right? Production-wise. Yeah. It took Cohen a little while to get that offense to click. We've seen in the last 2 weeks, Cohen and White both really getting their bag in those opening possessions. He talked about it Tuesday night being really aggressive. I like the red zone play calls. They didn't execute them when they got down in between the 10. Maybe just give the damn ball to Ray Davis, a little bit more too, instead of, handing one there off to Jatan after Ray helped get you down there. But the creativity that Cohen has shown, if you can get everybody on the same page early on, you set the tone, you make Georgia play from behind, which they don't want to do. You can apply some second half pressure. That's the playbook, right? Is start fast, play from ahead, and make Georgia try to catch up. Yeah,
I mean, Kentucky, like, it's kind of crazy to say this, but Kentucky's got the O-line to play, and both sides of the ball to play in this game. Georgia's pressure rate's at like 30%, and they don't have the bendy, twitchy edge rushers that just scare you. Like, Michael Williams is like a J.J. Weaver. It's a lot of just power and run over you. Yeah, it's not, I'm coming out of my sprinter stance and I'm going to bend this corner. It's different. And inside guys, like that's the weaker part of their defense. They don't have, there's not a Jalen Carter. There's not a Jordan Davis. There's not a Devontae White in there. So they're a little weaker there. And, so you have that in Kentucky, you feel good about it. Like if you would have told me all of this, you would have brought out this scenario and you wouldn't have told me anything about the receivers or Leary, what happened, but you told me everything else, I'd have been well, hell, Kentucky can win this game.
Yeah, and
that's the frustrating part of all this is just like, well,
the hardest part Kentucky's done.
Yeah, it's just the given of this team has not been the given.
Yeah, the other part of this that is, I don't know if shocking is the right word, but Georgia's inability to rush the passer, and then this offensive line. I know even without Mims. I mean, Cedric Van Pran,
Cedric Van Pran. And most of that pass rush production, Nick, not to cut you off, but half of that came against South Carolina.
Oh, which...
Like, they haven't been really able to rush the passer on anyone else.
You and I could get to Spencer Rattler. Like, come on. I still got
swim move be cooking.
Yeah.
Swim move would be cooking that night.
But, like, on the other side, I mean, there's a lot of preseason All-SEC guys. Like, Cedric Van Pran is supposed to be the best center in the conference, but, like, I got no doubt that Deon's going to blow his ass up, right? Like,
Kentucky's going to win their fair share of battles on that side of the ball.
Right. And put some pressure on Carson Beck. And then here's the other part, too. We're going to get to our FanDuel single game parlay. I was really tempted to throw the Brock Bowers under in there, but, like, that feels like a fool's errand. But, like, if anybody has the people to cover that guy, it's Kentucky, isn't it? Here's my question for you. If you're Brad White, would you rather stick Trevin Wallace on him when he's lined up as a split end, or would you rather use Wallace to apply pressure on Carson Beck?
I'm going to want Wallace rushing the passer. Just full stop. But the thing about Bowers is, Nick, like we do this a lot. Oh, just put whoever on him. But he's not lining up in the same spot. I mean, he's lining up all over the place. And you're not, like, sometimes Kentucky's going to be in zone. Sometimes they're going to be in man.
Well, yeah.
Depending on personnel. Or Georgia in 12, Georgia in 11. Georgia really in 10 with them playing receiver. Like, just a lot of that.
But I think more specifically, if you're manned up with a pressure package, are you going to switch and put D-Jack on him if he's lined up as a split end, right? Like, are you just saying, actually, Trevin, we're not going to bring you on this pressure because – if we're going to man up with them and not use a corner, let's use you. I know that's I'm very narrowing the gap there, but you're going to say, Trevin, just go tackle him. Bowers can't catch the ball if Beck's on his back, right? Like that's the line of thinking.
Do what you do best. Trevor Wallace, his best attribute so far this season has been rushing the passer.
Would be really nice if those Georgia linebackers stepped up because, love Chris. He never played well in this game. He's like the one Georgia native that – it just, I don't know. It was in his head there. But, hey, I'm tired of messing around. Let's get to the FanDuel portion of the podcast. FanDuel, you know them. You love them. FanDuel Sportsbook, the best sportsbook in America. Online sports betting is live. New customers can place a $5 bet and receive up to $200 in bonus bets. Head over to FanDuel.com right now. Sign up with the promo code PERSONNEL. That's FanDuel.com/personnel to get in on the action right now with FanDuel. Must be 21 and over and present in Kentucky. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Love FanDuel. Luckett, my favorite part about FanDuel is winning some early window NFL games and then placing some afternoon ones before they start. I haven't it's so great that we've got mobile sports gambling with FanDuel right now in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We will not in Georgia this weekend, so we got a little spoiled. We're going to have to get our stuff in ahead of time. But the NFL has not been something that we've been able to just, of course the Patriots aren't going to score more than 17.5 points. Here's an easy bet, right? And then they give you some bonus bets to sprinkle in there. FanDuel, it's the best. If you haven't signed up with them, sign up today and sign up with our single game parlay. Luckett, I'll let you kind of take the reins on this one. We were at least in the right ballpark. I know a lot of folks got in on Kentucky last week, just -1.5. I was all in on for this week, getting the look ahead line at Kentucky plus 23.5. But this week we've got 6 legs. Can you break it down for us? Because the first one off the bat we already discussed, the first quarter spread, Cats plus 3.5. But let's get a little rationale elsewhere, because I was just wanting to hammer the Kentucky defense under on everything Georgia.
Yeah, you just look at first quarter, Nick. Just these 2 SEC games, Kentucky's jumped out to a 21-0 lead and a 16-0 lead. 37 zip first quarter. And Georgia scored, I think, 17 total points.
Yeah, all season.
In the first quarter, all season. So you're getting 3 in the hook. You're getting points and not laying points here. So I like that. We've talked about passing. Kentucky's going to have to pass it to win this game, or to hang around. You're going to have to throw, like, even in the red zone, Nick, I think you're probably going to have to throw it in there. So I think Devin Leary, passing TDs, over a half. Sign me up. Nick, they've never scored over 31 against Brad White as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
31 and a half. Give it simple. Just play the under here in a game that's going to be limited possessions on top of all that. Like, if Georgia gets 10 possessions in this game, you're going to need them to score 3 points per drive, over 3 points per drive. That's a lot against a really good Kentucky defense.
I asked Palmer what his magic number was, and he said 27. And I was like, man, I don't know if either team's going to get to 27 points.
I think it's a race. 24 probably wins.
I was just, this might be a race to 20, right? Like, it's going to be a slobber knocker if you're considering just you want one, like, not easy, but one simple bet. Maybe just the under here. Maybe just the under.
Yeah. And then Tavian Robinson, banged up. We don't know if he's going to play. And Tavian Robinson, like, he's had a really good year, Nick, but go look at his numbers last year against Power
SEC
Conference
teams. Yeah.
It was bad. It was really bad. So under 42.5. He's got to prove that. Dang key. I know we talked about him. He's got to play better. Like, this is a spot for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky gives him an easy reception or 2 early in this game. Over 2.5. Again, I think Kentucky's going to have to lean a little pass heavy in this game. So that means that should mean some targets for Key, especially if one of either Berrien or Tavian's out. Like, he's going to get a lot of looks. So over 2.5 receptions. And then Dajan Edwards, running back for Georgia. Their number 1 running back. You know what Georgia wants to do. They want to run the football. So when they get in the red zone, they're running it. So give Dajan Edwards anytime touchdown score.
Yeah, he's got a touchdown in every game he's played this year so far, the Georgia running back. So they're going to give it to him. They're going to let him eat in the red zone. This 11 personnel single game parlay plus 2,500 odds and change. So $10 bet will win you about $275. So mess around. Play the single game parlay with us. It's a lot of fun with our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. We appreciate you.
What was the odds on that, Nick?
It was like 25, 28, something like that. But it was, plus 2,500 and change. So that's always fun. I've yet to hit one of these big single game parlays because I like to do the multiple things. Some of those out there are only 3 or 4, and it's like 3 to 4 odds. Like, that just 3 or 4 to 1 is not that much more juice versus a winning bet. Like, just give me a winning ticket, and I'll give you the rake.
Right.
Like that's kind of where I'm at.
You got to at least be 5-6 to make it worth your while.
Yeah, exactly. Got to really juice that bad boy up. But as I alluded to earlier, like I am pretty confident that this Kentucky defense is going to give Georgia fits. I feel very confident about that. They showed me a lot in that Florida game, and it's not just because they were able to beat up a bad Graham Mertz offense. I mean, this team's ability to get production from so many different places, it's very well balanced, and the cornerbacks, the dog they've shown, right? Like the unflinchability. Phillips getting mossed on there at the 1 yard line, but then going and making a tackle on 3rd down, right, to force a 4th down and end the game. Like that's the kind of stuff that, like, they got heart. They got heart. And that's
the dog in them.
They got their dog in them. Ooh. The Cats got some dog in them. And so if Kentucky wins this game, Luckett, I laid out the scenario earlier where it's the first quarter, you create some explosives. I think the difference is that like a lot of this just really comes down to, is Kentucky going to take advantage of these opportunities? Against Florida, they turned that interception into a touchdown 2 plays later. Right? Vandy, pick sixes, booming in the end zone. This defense is going to create some havoc against this Georgia team. And that's why Auburn was in that game last week, right? Because Carson Beck had some turnovers. Can you take advantage of them? They haven't in the past. They have to turn those into touchdowns. Kentucky's the 13th ranked red zone team in the SEC. 13 to 17 in the red area. You cannot kick field goals and beat this team. You cannot, because your opportunities down there are rarer than Mr. Clean with hair. Go take advantage of every opportunity that this defense is going to give you, because I think this Kentucky defense is the best unit on the field. Am I wrong? Georgia's a better team, but I think Kentucky's defense, I think it's the best unit on the field.
Yeah, Nick, when Brock Bowers is great, but when your number one weapon is a tight end and you're tagging that with a pocket passer, inexperienced pocket passer, you're not built to be explosive on offense.
Nope.
You're just not. And so creating explosive, I think, is going to be an issue for Georgia in this game. Georgia is going to win the efficiency battle, but Kentucky is a more explosive team in this matchup. And that's why they have a real chance to win this game, because they are going to hit the explosives. It's just, do they make how big are the explosives and how much do they make them count, which is kind of the big thing. Can Georgia keep a 40-yard play down to a 20-yard play kind of thing? Or Kentucky make a 40-yard, 30-yard play, a 45-yard play? That's the kind of thing that's going to make the difference in this game. And again, Kentucky's going to hang around. As long as there's not a catastrophic turnover or special teams situation, Nick, I really do think this is going to be a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. I really do believe it got a little hairy last year against Georgia for Georgia. Yeah. But I think this is going to be the first time where Kentucky's really put game pressure on Georgia in a game since 2016, in my opinion. I mean, 2017 they hung around, but you knew Georgia was just a snap away from breaking away. This year, I think Kentucky's really going to put some pressure on them. Their defense is more than good enough to win this game against this Georgia offense that's taken a step back. And then offensively, they can hit explosives like they've never been able to hit before. So it's going to be different how Georgia kind of defends them. And so we'll have to see how that all plays out. But Kentucky is good enough to, if they get a break or two, they can win this game. But like, there's no getting around the quarterback and receiver. That duo trio has to play well, and they need to make tough, physical, 50-50 competitive catches on Saturday to win the game. Can they do it? I don't know, but we'll find out. What did you think of Stoops' comments this week, though, Nick? Or not Stoops, but there's been reported that I guess at the teleconference,
yeah,
that they're not practicing well.
I don't know, because I don't think Stoops is doing it just to do it.
Yeah,
maybe he's trying to play games with Kirby, right? Maybe this is his way of acting. I don't know. I really don't know if I'm assuming, like, for the way Freddie put it, Stoops is not a very good bluffer. I've heard that Mark is not a great poker player because of that.
Gets mad.
Yeah.
Table.
So I think he's being genuine in that. I'm just a little surprised that they are they complacent? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to take of what's going on.
That part does feel just a little bit concerning, especially offensively, because it's like, yeah, you've been good enough, but good enough ain't good enough this week.
Yeah, I just thought that was. I don't know. I still don't know what to, because I could see like how. What is he mad about? Are they practicing like crap? Are they just not practicing their standard? Are they not like? Or is it a good practice? But we need this to be like great. Yeah. I don't know what they're upset about. So like, I mean, we might not even remember this on Saturday, or we might. Or we might.
I will say that it's got to piss Stoops off that he's playing horseshoes and hand grenades with Kirby, right? They're pals. They're yucking up. They're cut from the same cloth. They got similar mentalities about a lot of things. It's got to piss him off that he hasn't gotten him once. So maybe. Yeah,
this is the last. This is well, he needs to win an SEC West Road game, too. That's out there. But this is the last big one that the door they got to kick down eventually if they're going to continue to climb up that ladder that they've been climbing. They've knocked. I mean, like just look at the last 3-4 years of records against every East opponent other than Georgia.
Yeah.
I think you can, and Tennessee's obviously the one that they got to get fixed too. But you can make the case that this is the second best program in this division.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years.
Go out and prove
it. Now they got to go, and you can't just let Georgia win every game. You got to go beat them eventually. And this is the best opportunity again they've had since 2016 to go beat Georgia, in my opinion.
Well, we're going to give our official predictions Thursday on the Pigskin Preview. We discovered YouTube doesn't like live Pigskin Preview shows, so they're not going to be live. Sorry, folks. But we will have that show up for you tomorrow afternoon with all of our favorite plays on the FanDuel Sportsbook app for this weekend of college football action. Very excited to get that underway. A lot more coverage, too. I mentioned that conversation with the Dogs HQ guys. And also we got a conversation with Deone Walker, who Deone, he's a media darling now. He caught up quite a bit with Andy Staples, but I think he enjoyed talking with me a lot more. So sorry, Andy, but I guess I'm just way cooler. As we send you off here, enjoy this conversation with Kentucky defensive lineman Deone Walker.
Did you know Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm? Morgan & Morgan even covers you if you get hurt in Sandwich, Illinois, or why not North Carolina? It's easy. Just dial #law or go to forthepeople.com to get started.
Nick Roush here with Deone Walker, one of Detroit's finest. You a Lions fan?
Not really, no.
I mean, they were so bad for so long. I can't blame you.
So it's like...
They're good now, though. Can you hop back on the bandwagon?
No, I'm not a bandwagon person.
Okay.
Know?
So do you have an OG team?
Cowboys or Ravens.
Okay. Cowboys defense is pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is the Ravens. And it's funny. I remember you're doing the shoot with Morgan & Morgan. Mm-hmm. And I still remember when Morgan & Morgan did their first Size Matters billboard, and it was a Jordan Davis. And it was like, yeah, that matters. You're about Jordan Davis size, too.
Yeah.
But he's not your favorite player. You mentioned your favorite player the other day, and I want you to explain why.
He's Calais Campbell, he's really my size point. Jordan Davis more of a run stopper, while Calais has better hips, more versatile, and I don't want to be a one-trick pony.
He's got a lot of juice. He's got a little wiggle. And the other part of why I like Calais Campbell, too, is he was Josh Allen's right-hand man. He was the guy who helped Josh when he first got to the Jags.
Yeah.
And he's still doing his thing, man. And he's like 38 years old or something, still out there balling.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He does a lot of different stuff. We saw you against Eckrich. Mm-hmm. You were in a 9 technique, not in a 3-point stance.
Yeah.
What?
That's Coach White. He just helped. He just wants to use me everywhere. To give me more one-on-ones, so everyone on my defensive line can eat.
So, how's it different if you, just from a pass rush standpoint, is it easier? Is it harder to go from the edge? Because I noticed the dude barely touched you. You beat him off the line. You did.
I said most tacklers don't know about my quickness. So when I surprise them with it, it's easy,
Okay, so I wanna ask you if you love or hate this. French fries.
Love.
Okay. Ice cream.
Love.
Double teams.
Hate. With the passion.
Is that your least favorite thing in the world right now?
Yeah, but it's we got a love-hate relationship. I hate it, but my teammates love it,
That's good. Well, and it's also it's probably something you're gonna have to get used to dealing with, because I'd imagine no matter when you're playing football, they're gonna want 2 guys blocking you. Yeah,
and as long as I'm taking up 2, that's 9 on 10. Really 8, because quarterback throwing the ball.
That's true. And you're hitting quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you got a favorite speed rush, inside rush? You got a preferred method to get to that quarterback?
My favorite move right now, I say, is speed to power, speed bull, stutter bull.
Okay. Yeah. Going right at them and then getting them on their heels where they're sliding backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I did need to ask you a question. It's a very important question.
Okay.
This was from my boss. It was a demand. She wanted to know, why'd you wear sleeves for a game in September? Isn't that hot?
It's fashion,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so going for the fashion.
Yeah. I say I like my outfit, you know.
Yeah, it's just a good look.
Yeah, with high socks, you know, it's just everything went together.
Oh, okay, it just went together that day.
Yeah.
Are you is no sleeves? Is that like purely an offensive lineman thing?
Offensive linemen really like the elbow sleeves. So they can keep their arms locked out, but you know, yeah, it's not really.
But like, yeah, when it's cold though, you're from the cold weather. Do you like playing in the cold?
Not at all. I don't know who likes to get. Have you ever got smacked on your arm in cold weather when it was snowing and your arms are cold?
It's not fun.
Top 5 worst things ever. So yeah.
Well, and you're using your hands too.
Yeah.
Getting hit in the hands, it's like getting a little stabbed in the fingers.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Not at all.
That's why the SEC is that really what Vince got you? He's like, it's hot down here.
It was a great incentive.
Well, Deone, I know people love watching you play football. Also, like the number 0 looks good. I mean, like the Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan, that looks good on you too. But I like the 0. Was there any reason why you went with the goose egg?
I just wanted a single digit, and that was the only one open.
Okay, so fashion.
Yeah, fashion. Exactly.
Yeah, you're just a fashionable guy.
I wanted the drip.
I mean, you got the drip right now too. You even got the shoes to match the Morgan and Morgan sweat.
Yeah, you know, I did some research, you know. I knew Morgan and Morgan, their colors were black and yellow, so
Boom.
had to bring out the Thunders.
Perfect.
Yes,
You
sir.
brought it. You bring it every Saturday at Kroger
sir.
Field. Deone Walker, ladies and gentlemen.